Welcome to the DisLove podcast with Vanessa and Kris. I'm Vanessa Ferguson.
And I'm Kris Johns.
We would like to welcome you to show number 144. And for any listeners joining us for the first time, our show features things we love at Disney. And in each episode, we have a guest who creates Disney magic for our listeners at home or on their Disney vacations. From vacation planners to product producers, our guests can bring Disney magic into your life. And as a reminder to our listeners, we appreciate if you take time to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or any other platform where you listen. That helps the show grow and, of course, helps new listeners find us. And we love to give shout outs to people on those future episodes as well. And Kris, before we get started, we have a message from our friends Eric and Alexa.
They want to remind you when you're planning your next trip to Disney, think about BabyQuip. As your BabyQuip independent quality provider, they will provide you with excellent customer service by providing clean and useful equipment to make your vacation easy. Want something but don't see it on their site? Let them know and they'll do their best to accommodate you. They hooked up Vanessa and I up with a beautiful brand new stroller for Karis. We were able to wheel her around the park. The chassis was so free. It made pushing her so easy. And of course, you had to do a couple of those where you lean them back when they're not expecting it. It made it really fun. And again, Eric and Alexa, they do a couple of things. Number one, awesome customer service. Number two, excellent value for your money. And number three, they're good people. And I think that trifecta makes it a perfect reason if you're planning it, whether it be a crib, a stroller, or any other thing that will make a car seat, anything to make your life easier as a parent. Eric and Alexa and BabyQuip can hook you up. Visit the show notes for a link to make your reservation today. I know the next time we go to Florida, we will be making a reservation.
Yes, so thank you for that message, Kris. And on today's episode, we are going to be joined by Julie from Mommin with a Mouse. She makes all kinds of super cute accessories, including jewelry and her specialty Mickey sunglasses, which we'll hear all about those. But before we hear from her, we're going to talk about some of the best attractions to beat the heat. Now, when we were interviewing her, we talked about her great sunglasses, which got me thinking about the Florida sun. And the last trip we were on in December, it was quite toasty. So I wanted to talk about some of those places that are the best places to beat the heat, but they're also good if it's raining as well. So we're going to start off with Magic Kingdom. And I will say there are places in each of the lands here, which makes it nice. And one nice thing, most of these are ones that people of all ages can go to as well. So when you start off, I'm going to just start over in Tomorrowland. I think one that's always fun, which we enjoy a lot, is Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin.
Definitely.
And that is, of course, super great for cooling down. It's all AC. And once you're inside, a big portion of that queue is inside. So you're in the AC for that as well, which is nice. And of course, it gives you a chance to be a little competitive. Kris always beats me.
Most of the time.
Yes. I don't think I've ever beat him, but that's very nice of you. So Buzz Lightyear is a great place to get started. Now, some of our other favorites over there aren't so cool. We love to go on People Mover, but again, you're not going to get that great cooling off experience. Another thing over by there is the Carousel of Progress. And I love to go in there because I just love the show. I love the history, everything related to Walt Disney. But Kris, I would say you like going in there for cooling off.
Oh, definitely. It's just a great... Too many times you're at that point in the day, you're a little sweaty and it's a great place to cool down.
And if you have any little ones, it's long enough. They could take a quick nap as well in that AC, which is always great. And of course, that's a great show as well. Now, when you're over in Tomorrowland, there's also things like Space Mountain, and when you are in part of the line for Tron, part of that's inside. But let's be honest, if you're really hot and you want to get into the air quickly, you want to get on something that hopefully you can get on rather quickly. Now, when you move over to Liberty Square, there are, of course, I skipped over Fantasyland, but we'll get back there. Over in Liberty Square, Haunted Mansion is one of those classic ones. I don't know if it feels cooler in there because it's dark, but I always feel like Haunted Mansion feels extra cold when you're in there.
Definitely.
Yeah, so Haunted Mansion is one. AC, of course, and I think with the darkness in there, it just adds that other element. Now, when you're also over there, you have Hall of Presidents as well. Now, I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, but I enjoy going to watch Hall of Presidents, and it is a longer show, which is always an added benefit. And I will say, I don't think in that one, but there's been a few shows you've taken some naps in.
Probably anything where it's dark, I'm sleeping.
So Kris could also recommend these as great nap places as well. So you have Haunted Mansion, and then backtracking a little bit, because I did skip over Fantasyland. I've heard a lot of people talk about It's a Small World, but in my opinion, I don't think this is a great place to beat the heat, because you are going through a pretty hot queue. Because I feel like the queue for things like It's a Small World, Peter Pan, all of those, you just feel really jammed together, and I feel like there's no airflow in those areas. So I would cut those off. I would not count those.
Agree.
Now, the one place I would count in Fantasyland is Mickey's PhilharMagic. That I think it's still a fun 4D concert. I know our daughter enjoys it. I enjoy it. And there is a big portion of that queue, which is totally inside. And then, of course, the show is all inside. So that's a great way to beat the heat. And I think when you're in Fantasyland, if you've spent a long time in line for, let's say, for Peter Pan's flight, or maybe even It's a Small World, you're already getting hot and a little irritated. So that's a perfect place to go. And it gives you a chance to cool off for a bit. Now, as you kind of move a little bit further into Fantasyland, you can go to the Under the Sea Journey of the Little Mermaid. And I think this is great. The way part of that queue is outside, but I think the way the cover is, and even like if you go over to the meet and greet for Ariel, I've stood in that line with our daughter, and it was a pretty warm day, and you're shaded quite a bit and you're away from that direct sunlight. So both of those lines are great places to rest. And then, of course, the ride itself. And I think this is another one, because it's those big open areas, I feel like they tend to pump the AC a little bit better. So Under the Sea, the Little Mermaid ride is a great place to cool off. And that kind of rounds out what I would count in that area. Now, you can go, of course, to the back where you have over by the Dumbo ride. You can do, this is an inside one. I would consider a water area a place to cool off, wouldn't you?
Definitely.
Yeah, so you have Casey's Junior Splash and Soak Station, and this is over by the Dumbo ride. So if you've waited in Dumbo's line for a long time and your little ones, or maybe even you want to cool off a little bit, and it's a very hot day, you do have the water station back, the splash station back there. So that's always a nice thing. Now, coming towards the front of the park, you have, we already talked about Hall of Presidents, and that is you're circling back towards Adventureland. Right now it's closed, but it's still going to be in its same iteration in terms of the space and all of that, is Country Bear Jamboree. So Country Bear Jamboree is a great place to cool off as well. And that will be revised, but it's still going to be a nice place. As you move towards the front of the park, you have in Adventureland, I think Pirates is probably the best place, though.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because even if you're in a longer line, the line is in the darkened area. The ride itself with the water, I think it just is a lot cooler than anywhere else. So Pirates of the Caribbean is another great place to cool off. And then, of course, in the area as well, you have the Enchanted Tiki Room. That line is outside, but as soon as you get in the room, you're there to be able to sit down for a good period of time and cool off. And again, you're just wanting to get out of that Florida heat, whether it's the sun from the heat of the day or just a warm, humid day. These are all some great places. Now, of course, I've heard people say, well, I go in the shops, or I go in some of the areas on Main Street or different things. Yes, those are all options, but these are places that most of them you get a chance to sit down as well as escaping from the heat. So those are all of our top picks for Magic Kingdom. Now we're going to move over to Hollywood Studios. And at Hollywood Studios, I think one of Kris's favorite shows in all of Disney parks is there. That is a great place to cool off.
Please remind me.
Frozen.
Of course.
Yeah. The Frozen sing-along. So that is a great place. That theater is always cool. Of course, there's even snow at one point in the show. So it's kind of a fun thing. Definitely a great way to cool off. And then, of course, I've had people say, well, when you wait in line for like Millennium Falcon or Rise of the Resistance, those are some places that are places you can cool off, and even Mickey's Runaway Railway. But I'm thinking of places that you can sit down for an extended period. So for me, I would say Muppet Vision 3D. That's a big theater. The area that you're waiting for the ride or for the show is all enclosed, all in AC. Another great place to escape the heat. And if you are further back in the park and maybe have just left the area with Star Wars and that, it's right near that area. So that's a great place. And then, of course, you have, if you're in Toy Story Land, that's a hot area. I feel like it's just like everything.
All that plastic,
yeah.
It shines, it reflects the sun.
The food places, except for like the new sit down, everything's outside. It's very warm. But there is one respite from the heat, and that's Toy Story Mania. Once you get through into the big part of the queue, you're going to be in the AC for most of the queue. The ride itself, I think that's another great place to cool off because you're already going to be pretty warm from enjoying the rest of Toy Story Land. So that's a great place to cool off, is Toy Story Mania. And again, there's some other places at Hollywood Studios, but I would say these are kind of our top picks for places to sit down and cool off. Now, moving over to Epcot, I always struggle now with Epcot because you have International Gateway where people are coming in from the Skyliner and the front. So I don't really know. I mean, I know Spaceship Earth is technically the front, but I'm going to start at the back because I'm going to start with the place that's near and dear to us. Where is a great place to cool off in the World Showcase?
Oh, the DVC lounge.
Oh, that's a good point. But I was actually going to say where we got married.
I never would have thought of that.
The American Adventure. That, of course, is a patriotic show. If you've not seen it, I'm really into history and political stuff, so I love it. It's the history and music and everything about our country's history. So it's a great place to go, but it's also a pretty long show, and it's a huge theater, so you don't have to wait. You can usually always get in and sit down and cool off. It's a great place to do that. Now, throughout the World Showcase, there are a lot of other shows that you can go in and enjoy and get some respite from the heat. And if you're walking in Epcot, I think a lot of people don't realize how big Epcot is, and you do a lot of walking compared to some of the other parks.
Oh, a lot.
So there's places like in Canada, they have the Canada Far and Wide show that you can watch. And then there are some rides that are throughout. I would say I've had some people talk about Frozen, but often a lot of that line can be outside before you get to the main part of the line. So I personally would pick Grand Fiesta Tour with the Three Caballeros in Mexico because number one, you're already going to be in that pavilion, which I feel like that pavilion is a little bit cooler. And if you've been walking in Future World and you're finally made it to World Showcase, it's a great place to go in. You can get in line and kind of relax. That is also a nice place to cool down. And that kind of circles out the main ones that I would say in the World Showcase. Of course, you can go into any of the buildings. There's the shops and restaurants and all of that. But these are just kind of those attractions where you get a chance to experience something as well as cooling off. Now, when you go to the front of the park, you also have, of course, over in the Imagination Pavilion, Figment usually doesn't have a long line, or if it does, you're all inside. It's all AC. And then there's a fun interactive area at the end. And Kris brought up about the DVC lounge. So if you are a DVC member, that's a great place to go up and cool off. The one time I was on a tour with my parents, and you and our Kris went up to the lounge to cool off.
Yes, we did.
And so that's a great place if you do have DVC, or if you're there with a DVC friend that you can go up to. Another one in that area is Living with the Land, because that entire line is inside. The boat ride is nice and cool. And that's also a nice, little bit longer, relaxing ride that you can enjoy and cool off, of course. And most of the rides in Epcot have an indoor queue. So when you look at the big majority of the line for Mission Space, Ratatouille, the Seas with Nemo, all of these are inside lines. But I would say the ones that I think that give you the chance to really cool off the most would also be Soaring Around the World. So Soaring that's also in the land. Again, everything's inside, the line, the ride, So you're definitely going to get a chance to cool off. And then if you want a snack or something, you're right there by the Sunshine Seasons Cafe. So you can get a chance to have a snack. Now, Spaceship Earth, the line unfortunately is outside, but the ride itself is a good length of time. And I find that that's a great place to cool off too. So if, depending on which direction you're going, if you're starting off the day in the front, or if you came in through the Skyliner at the back at International Gateway and you're already hot and sweaty sitting down at Spaceship Earth, I think that's a nice relaxing one too.
Definitely.
So that rounds up everything at Epcot. Now let's move over to Animal Kingdom. So as our last park, they do still have some good places to cool off. And I will say Animal Kingdom is the hottest park. I feel like all that vegetation just makes it, if you're there on a hot day,
very steamy.
Yes, you are going to be hot all day long, no matter what you do. So hopefully this gives you some ideas of some places where you can get a break. Now, at the front of the park, you have It's Tough to Be a Bug. And that, of course, is in the Tree of Life. The queue is not cooled off, but going into the ride or into the show and you're in the darkness with the glasses. And I feel like that's a nice way to kind of cool off, especially for kids. It's a short show, gives you a chance to cool off long enough before you go back out to the heat, but it's not long enough where you're going to probably fall asleep for a nap. I don't think.
No.
So Tough to Be a Bug. Now, if you want a show that is longer, that you're definitely going to have plenty of time to cool off, that would be Festival of the Lion King. And of course, this is a Broadway level show. We love this show. We love the venue. We just went to our friend Shane and Charlie's vow renewal reception there. We love everything about Lion King. And of course, it's in the AC and it's a great way to cool off. So that is another one of our top picks. Now, when you move further back into the park, if you take the train and you go to do the animation experience at Conservation Station, this is a great way. Not only are you in an AC building, a totally air-conditioned building, but you also get a chance to learn how to draw something in a different, usually they have a different character featured every day. We've done this a few times. It's been a while since we've been, but Conservation Station, it's neat to see some of the work they're doing with the animals, as well as having a chance to cool off, which is what we're all wanting to do if you're having a very hot day at Animal Kingdom. Now, one of the things that you might like, and we are not people that like to do water rides, you can head over to Colorado River Rapids. And I don't know, have you really done any of the water rides at Disney?
No, I do not like water rides. Only me, you could have maybe got me on one, but other than that, I'm a big boy and I say no.
But if you are not like Kris and you say yes, this is a great one to cool off because you will get wet. Now, I would suggest probably doing it either towards the end of the day or if you have some things to change into, but definitely a good way to cool off at a very steamy park for sure. Now, there are, of course, other indoor attractions, like if you're in line for Flight of Passage, most of Navi River Journey's line is inside, but the majority of those are still a little steamy. So those are some ones that I would focus on. I will say Dinosaur is one that is definitely inside, and that one you can cool off because between the line and the pre-show and then going to the actual attraction, that is not too bad of one to check out as well. So hopefully when you're there on a hot summer day or maybe one of those unseasonably warm days in Florida, you can get a chance to cool off. And if you're like us with our Midwest blood, we need a break from that heat, and you can check out all of these attractions. Like to thank our friends over at Undercover Tourist. They have a great list. I will say I kind of tweaked it based on what we personally prefer, but definitely check it out. I'll put the link to their list in our show notes, and then give us just a minute to get our call up with Julie. We would like to welcome Julie to the show. Her shop, Mommin with a Mouse, is really designed for all those Disney fashionistas. She has all kinds of great jewelry, sunglasses, lots of awesome things. She's a Walt Disney World annual pass holder. She's a mom of 3. She works in account management and client training for a software company, and we are super excited to have Julie on the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Now, we always start out with a question asking people a little bit about what they enjoy at the Disney parks. And right now we have been asking people, what is your favorite event at any Disney park?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question because I just got back my favorite Disney event of the year.
Oh, nice.
And it is Run Disney Princess Weekend Yoga, Sunrise Yoga, in front of Cinderella's Castle. It's the second year I've done it. It always falls around my birthday. And so it's like my yearly birthday present to myself. And I did it last year alone and made friends. And I vowed I'm going to do it with actual friends the next year. So it just got back. It was on Monday morning. I did it with a few friends that I had made on Instagram, Disney Instagram friends that I don't know in real life, but I have met multiple times at the parks when our trips line up, and we did it together. That is the best event. It is so special. It's only a few hundred people.
Wow.
It's literally in the middle of the night. Like you get up at 2 a.m. to go, but I promise it's worth it. It starts at 5:30 in the morning. And by the time you are done, the sun is rising behind the castle as you're finishing your yoga practice, which is just so special.
Oh,
so
wow.
that has to be for sure my favorite because it's so few people. Run Disney is really fun when you do Run Disney, but it's thousands, like tens of thousands of people. And like the Christmas party is fun, but it's a lot of people and it's a lot of crowd. Yeah. This is where you are literally in Magic Kingdom in front of Cinderella's castle. It is completely quiet. There's not a sound. You can hear the fountains all the way back in front of Casey's Corner from the front of the park. I'm in front of the partner statue. I'm looking at Cinderella as she's like greeting us. And we do, a 45-minute yoga practice. Just everyone is so still, and there's only like a couple hundred of us there. I mean, it's so special. So that definitely is my favorite event.
Wow, that is so awesome. I know we had a vendor on a while back that she made special bracelets for that event. And I will say yoga kind of has a special place in my heart. Our daughter's from India. So like namaste, we always do a lot of those kind of events. So that's definitely something I'm going to have to add to my list for sure.
You should add it to your list, sign up for it. We did say namaste at the very end. And it's just, you're like completely like by yourself almost. Like it's so special. You never have those kind of moments at Magic Kingdom where you're like the one of only 300 people.
That is so true. And I know when we got married at Disney and we did like a photo shoot at Magic Kingdom, and there is nothing like being there when there's so few people, like you're saying. It's just such a different experience. And to have an event like that you can go and do it on an annual basis, that's even better.
Highly recommend. 10 out of 10.
Now, of course, the reason we have you on the show is for you to tell us all about your business and what are the products you offer connected to Disney.
Yeah, absolutely. My favorite thing is Mickey-shaped sunglasses, Mickey and Minnie sunglasses. I offer those in a bunch of different colors, and I do sparkle versions, like fully beaded, like hand-beaded rhinestone. Those have been so fun because they are so extra. But that is what my shop is all about, is like just super extra, like totally like to the max with your Mickey stuff. Like, because if you're going to go to Disney, why not have the shirt, the ears, the bracelets, the earrings, the magic band, the socks, the lounge fly, like all of the things. And then on top of that, like these just over the top extra Mickey sunnies in like every color of the rainbow, and then sparkly, like it just adds that. And when you see, like when I see my customers wearing them and like they show pictures of them in the park, and they always send me notes like, I got so many compliments. Or like people were like stopping me, on Main Street, like, you look so cute. And I'm like, that's it. That's why I do it. Cause like I want my customers to get stopped by cast members or from other guests to say, oh my God, where did you get that? That's so cute. You look so good. You look so good. You look so good today. And that's really my entire goal, is to have people like feel like they're having fun and feel cute when they're like at the parks.
No, that's awesome. Now, you had mentioned about just you having this creativity. What was that deciding factor to create the business?
Yes. So the reason why I created it was during the pandemic. It was like the fall of 2020, and we were going to Disney because it had opened back up here in Florida in July, and we went on opening day, and I was wearing the mask the whole time. You have to wear the mask, right? Even outside in July in Orlando, which I would not recommend. 0 out of 10, like no stars. But the mask, it was like off on, because like you had to keep taking it off. So I created mask chains. That was the first thing I created. That's why I created my shop, was mask chains that had Mickey beads. And they were like, rainbow colored and like pastel rainbows and bright neon rainbows and Christmas. Stuff. Fun Mickey beads. And it was, to hold when you take your mask off, it would just fall down kind of like a necklace, right? Like a mask chain. But they were Disney mask chains, and I made them for kids, and I had them in all these different things. So moms and kids, and you could match. And I sold so many of those, and I made a ton of them, and people really liked them. And then, as we started to get into like, okay, you don't have to wear them all the time. Okay, now you only have to put them on transportation. I was like, I need to pivot. Sure. So I started making earrings as well as mask chains. And so then I started to do that. And then a couple of years ago, I'm like, or maybe a year and a half ago, I'm like, oh, now I really want to do Mickey sunglasses. So it just kind of evolved from there. And I'm always thinking of like new types of earrings and Mickey sunnies that I can add to the shop. But it started all because of the pandemic and us needing to wear masks at the parks and needing a cute way to wear your mask.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what's ironic is we started our show in fall of 2019, so right before the pandemic, but just seeing the massive amount of shops like yourself that just really grew out of a necessity during the pandemic to kind of evolve and change since then. It's just so neat to see and to hear stories like yours, because then you're still here and you're creating really great stuff for your customers now still.
Yeah. And I just, everything that drives me is just my customers, is just making people feel like they're having fun, and they, their whole outfit is put together, and them, just wanting to be, cute at the parks. Like that's really all I care about, is them feeling good and looking cute and like wanting to share that. So if I can do that and just bring up that tiny bit of magic, whether it's a figment earring or a fully bedazzled, like super extra pair of Mickey sunglasses, then job done. Like I feel really good about that.
Now, you kind of answered the one question about that we always ask about Disney magic. So you've already touched on that. Now I'd like to kind of ask you, so you've mentioned like the sunglasses and some of the jewelry. Where, like, do you have custom things? Do you have set things that are in your shop? Number one. And then number two, what is maybe your favorite product that you have?
I try to customize as much as I can. But I'm always creating new collections, and I collaborate with Disney artists. I have a commission. I have an artist that I commission, her to create artwork. So I'm trying to support young artists in that way. And so I'm always trying to do new things. So I'm always trying to take feedback from my clients of like, oh, you should do, a Winnie the Pooh collection, or can you do a Toy Story collection? And I'm like, yes, but let me commission that artwork, and let's get something really special that maybe isn't already out there that we can do. Staples for sure are going to be like just a single tassel with like a sparkly Mickey stud. Like those are like number one bestseller. Except for there is like one single earring in my shop, like that's the most popular, that I've sold the most of, that I'm always selling out of, that I can't keep in stock, and it boggles my mind, but maybe it shouldn't. People are going to be like, oh, of course, and I'm like, I just really, like, that's the one, and it's just orange bird studs, just orange bird's head as a stud, just like a simple little like 1/2 inch. That earring, it's like I can't keep it in stock. People buy it constantly, and I'm like, all right, people love Orange Bird. I love him, but I just didn't think that many people loved him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I will say I'm a huge Figment fan, and my mom loves Orange Bird, and it's harder to find Orange Bird stuff. So I can see why that probably sells out, because even at the parks, they have Orange Bird in certain seasons, but like Figment, you can find him all year, and it's harder to
True.
find orange bird. So that's probably where you're
Maybe that's
getting
it.
sold out. I only know that because my mom loves orange bird. So yes,
Okay.
so it's definitely a thing. I can tell you for sure.
Great, that's good to know.
Now,
My favorite item in the shop is the sunglasses. Like every color. I keep a pair in every color for myself and my daughter because I also do kids.
oh, that's
Mickey
what I was going to
sunglasses.
ask you. Yes, that's good to know.
Yes, I started making them for kids because I was like, my daughter wanted to wear my sunnies, but they were just like giant on
Yes.
her. They are just like so over the top, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can make you a. Do you want a pair? And she's like, yeah, she's
Right.
6. So
Our daughter
this
is
when she was
6
like,
also. Yeah.
oh really? Okay,
Yeah.
so this is when she was like 4.5, and she's like, I want a pair. So now she has a pair in every color, and then I'll do like matching ones, so that you can do mommy and me matching. But I have a lot of parents of boys that buy just the black Mickey sunnies. They love those because and it's so cute to see like little 3-year-old, 4-year-old little boys like with their Mickey sunnies on, like in front of the Epcot ball. And I'm like, yes, like
that's
anybody can wear these. I'm like, guys out there, like you can wear Mickey sunglasses. Like I have them in lots of different colors. So like, don't be afraid to be extra.
awesome. Right.
It's not just for the fashionistas. It's for, it's for all. It's for all, really.
Now, if I wanted to get some of these awesome sunglasses or earrings, what's like the turnaround time? So if I had a trip coming up, how early should I order?
Yeah. So my processing time is just 5 business days, and then I get them out. So if you order it on a Friday, then I'll get them out by the following Friday so that I can process them. And then the shipping time is just depending on what service you pick. Yeah. So U.S. Postal Service or UPS or FedEx or whatever you choose. So usually it takes like 4 days for it to get to you, like to ship it to you once I ship it out. However, if you've got a trip coming up, I always try to accommodate and get things out really quickly. But 5 business days is my processing time. And that's for everything. The sunnies and the earrings, unless they're bedazzled sunnies, and those take a bit longer. Those do. And I have pre-orders for the rhinestone sparkle sunnies because they do take hours.
Oh, I can imagine.
Hours to bead because I hand bead them, and I use like 4 or 5 different size rhinestones for every single sunglasses to make them. Yeah, so it's a lot of work, but it's so worth it, and people love them so much. So I love doing it.
Now, whether it be orange bird or bedazzled sunglasses, where can people go online to find all the awesome things you do?
Sure. My website, momminwiththemouse.com or Mommin with a Mouse on Etsy. You can do either one of those. They're connected. So whether you use the website, momminwiththemouse.com, or on Etsy, it goes through the same system.
And just to confirm for our listeners, again, Mommin is spelled Mommin. There's no G there, but Mommin with the mouse.
That is correct. Yes. And I do have that link in my Instagram bio as well. So there's a direct link there. And it's the same, Mommin with the Mouse on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook.com, all of it. It's the same.
Perfect. And we will make sure to put all of those links in the show notes. And thank you so much, Julie, for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'll make some more orange bird stuff for your mom.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you again to Julie for joining us today.
And now we are on to our 2-minute trivia and our wisdom from Walt quote. And Kris, you are up with trivia.
So we've been talking about really cooling off, and really you need that when it's hot.
Yes.
What is the hottest temperature ever recorded at Disney World?
Ooh. I'm going to go with 106.
No, 102.
Wow.
But I would think between the concrete and the heat index, that would have to feel like 130.
Oh, wow.
Now, here's the other question. What was the lowest temperature ever recorded at Disney?
I'm thinking somewhere in the 20s, so I'm going to go with 23.
17.
Wow.
And this is from our friends at DisneyFoodBlog.com. But man, imagine, like we were there in December and it was warm. I mean, again, not hot. And as Vanessa mentioned earlier, like we're just not heat people. I mean, I've been to the desert, but you kind of come to expect it. But But with that, holy cow, imagine being in that park when it's 95, let alone 102.
Yeah, my family used to vacation down there in the summertime, and it was quite warm. That's why you and I do not vacation during the summer down there. Great, very interesting. Now, this episode is going up just a couple days before. What is this weekend, Kris?
Walt Disney World Expo.
Well, I was going to say a personal date.
Our anniversary.
Yeah, our anniversary. So we got married at Epcot. So I decided to choose a quote from Walt Disney about Epcot. The most exciting and by far the most important part of our Florida project, in fact, the heart of everything we'll be doing in Disney World, will be our experimental prototype community of tomorrow. We call it Epcot. So hopefully on your next trip, you can get a chance to check out Epcot. I know we will be going there on our anniversary for a dinner after the expo that Kris mentioned. So thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to check out our other episodes on our Buzzsprout page and follow us on social media. So thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the DisLove podcast with Vanessa and Kris. I'm Vanessa.
And I'm Kris. This podcast is not affiliated with the Walt Disney Company or its holdings, and it is intended for entertainment purposes only.